Greetings internet, it's Monica, and today I am here to do what might be my most requested video of all time, and it is a video all about how I take and edit my Instagram photos. So when it comes to my Instagram style, I try and create a very whimsical and colorful feed. I tend to change it up season to season depending on how I'm feeling. So in autumn and winter, my feed was very warm and cozy, but now that we're in spring, summer, I'm very bright and pastel, but I always tend to incorporate things like star stickers and glitter and rainbows because that's just kind of how I see the world. And a lot of what I'm trying to achieve with my Instagram is to portray how I felt in a certain moment, or just again how I see the world, which is this very wondrous, magical place. And that's what I'm trying to do with my Instagram and the photos that I share on there. Honestly, a big part of why I started posting more frequently on Instagram was for like body positivity reasons. I kind of had this idea that taking more photos and posting them and sort of creating art around photos of me would help with my perception of myself and self-worth and love and all of that stuff. And I will say that it has helped me immensely. It's like the act of giving yourself that much attention. I feel like, for me at least, what has been really beneficial in just making me feel more confident, and especially finding other people out there who are doing the same thing, I feel like has really, in a lot of ways, rewired my brain. And I just also find it really fun to share things that I'm loving and fashion and stuff like that. So that's a little bit of what I am trying to do with my Instagram and sort of my mindset behind all of that I create. Now, before I dive into talking about all the things I use to take and edit my photos, I do want to give a big thank you to this video's sponsor, Skillshare. I love Skillshare. I've used them for months now, maybe years. If you are unfamiliar with them, Skillshare is an online learning community for creatives where millions of people come together to take the next step in their creative journey. They offer thousands of inspiring classes for creative and curious people on topics including illustration, design, photography, video, freelancing, and more. And you guys know, if you've been watching me for a while, that it's been really important for me to be mindful and doing art in my day-to-day life, and just taking the time to learn new skills has been really important for that. So that's why I love Skillshare. But I especially wanted to talk about for this video and give credit to Brandon Woeful, because Brandon, who is one of my favorite photographers and is such a prolific Instagram photographer, he actually has his own Skillshare course. It's a Skillshare original, and he walks you through his whole creative process, from how he comes up with ideas for photo shoots to how he gets ready for a shoot, editing, and everything in between. For me, his course was so helpful, especially with getting to think more creatively about the environments that I'm given. So many of the photos that he creates are just taken in his backyard or in his bathroom, or somewhere that you wouldn't expect. And also to think creatively about lighting and where your light comes from, because so much of what he photographs is at night, and so he has to be really thoughtful about his light source. I actually credit this photo right here. I took this right after finishing his course, and it was so helpful in helping me brainstorm this photo idea, figure out like how I wanted to do the light from the book and everything. So I definitely recommend checking that course out. If you'd like to give Skillshare a try, I will include a link in the description box below, where the first 1,000 people can get a 2-month free trial. So now on to how I take and edit my own photos. So I typically take my photos on my iPhone. I have an iPhone 10. Here it is with my adorable Jungkook card on the back. I take my photos predominantly on my iPhone. I have the iPhone 10, and I love the photo quality. I will say that my biggest issue with the iPhone camera is that it often, I feel like, ups the contrast on photos. So that is something that I just have to take into consideration, and I often have to sort of play with in the editing process. But I don't use any fancy apps for taking my photos. I just take them right in the iPhone camera app. So, I mean, maybe that's what I'm doing wrong, but that's what I've always used and it's what I continue to use. Another tool that I use a lot is a selfie stick. Yeah, guys, I am that cringy, but honestly, this thing is amazing and comes in so clutch, especially when I'm traveling. So, of course, we all know how a selfie stick works. You can extend it and take photos of yourself, but the reason why I love this one so much is that the bottom actually splays out like this, so you can turn it into a tripod. It extends a couple of feet, so it's not too high but also not too low. It's enough that it can like actually stay stable. But what I love about this thing also is that it has a little remote that pops out, and this basically enables me to not have to rely on self-timer and to be able to just use this to pair it with my iPhone so that I can have it take photos as I pose, and it just makes life a lot easier. Again, this thing has come in clutch both when I'm traveling and here at home because I don't really have people to take photos for me wherever I go, so this is very helpful and probably one of my favorite things I use. I'll link it down below. I got it from Amazon. I do have another camera that I use, especially when I am shooting at nighttime or at golden hour, or if I just know that I want a more portrait style effect, because I do not like portrait style on the iPhone, or at least on my iPhone. I do not have the fancy new iPhone, so I'm sure that one's better, but I use the Olympus PEN. This is the newest model, the EPL9. I love it. First of all, it's beautiful. Aesthetically, it's just stunning. You can pop out the lenses and use different lenses. So I have one that's specifically for portraits, one that's better for just everyday typical photography, and then the viewfinder also pops out as you need. So I really love this camera. It, I think, is really great for photography. I travel with it. It allows me to shoot in RAW without having a big DSLR that I'm carrying with me everywhere I go. It's pretty light. So yeah, this camera, amazing. I also love it because I can pair it with my iPhone, and so if I set this on a tripod or down and I want to take photos, I can use Bluetooth in order to use my iPhone as the viewfinder, and then I can see myself in it, pose, click take the photo, and then hide my phone really fast, and I'm able to take some really great photos. Also, if you hear children, it's because there are children in my neighborhood. I try not to rely too much on self-timer just because I rarely ever get a good photo out of it without looking very awkward. Next, I want to talk about posing because this is something that took me a while to figure out. There's so many videos online about like how to pose, but what I'll say is that one, they aren't the most body positive of videos. It's a lot like how to look flattering or how to do flattering poses, and it's like, you know, that's very subjective. Or two, it's by someone who, you know, you might not have the same body type as or ability as or whatever. So I don't really watch those anymore. For me, I get a lot of my inspiration for posing from one, Disney princesses, which is random, but yeah, if you ever watch like Disney princess meet and greet videos or look at photos from Disney princess meet and greets like from the parks, I get a lot of inspo from how they pose just because their poses are like cute and fun and spunky, and that's kind of the vibe that I'm going for. So sort of a random place to get inspo from, but that's one. Two, I'm just always on Instagram, and if I ever see someone who I'm like, oh, that's a really cute pose, then I'll often save it to a folder on my Instagram that I can use for inspiration in the future, because often when you're like in the midst of getting a photo taken, you might not think of every pose in your wheelhouse, and it's just a good way to like think creatively about that, and especially if you're just getting started. The other thing I'll say is that it's hard to get started with posing and taking photos of yourself. You're gonna feel silly more than likely. Like I just always felt so silly and ridiculous, and I was so worried about other people judging me. But I think the more I did it, the more I realized how much fulfillment I got out of the creative process that I stopped caring. And now I really don't care. Like I'll, you know, when I could go into public back in the day, I would take photos on the street with my tripod or my selfie stick, and I would not care. Because I know that in the end, the whole process of being able to create something and upload it is worth more than my perception of other people's perception of me, you know? If you are interested though in like a video about like posing, let me know and I can try and put something together. That might be like an IGTV video though. Next is probably the thing that most people are here for, which is how I edit and especially doodle on my photos. So I'm going to talk about a few apps that I love. They are probably number one for me is PicsArt. I use PicsArt constantly to create collages and doodle on my photos. I use it for most of my thumbnails. Like, I love PicsArt. I am in deep in PicsArt. I do have the paid version because I worked with them like about a year ago, and so I've had that ever since, but it's a thing that like I would renew because I use it constantly. Another app that I use a lot is May2. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but it's an editing app that is kind of similar to PicsArt. It's not as customizable, but I think they have some really beautiful stickers and effects on there. If you've seen the like glitter effect that's very trendy right now, that everyone is basically doing it in May2. So I really love that app. And then I also use Nietzsche a lot. I especially use it in the fall because it's very autumn vibes. And I used to use it a lot for my thumbnails back when I had more of a collage journaling style aesthetic here on YouTube. So one of the things that I do probably the most on PicsArt is adding rainbows onto the background of photos. So I'm gonna go ahead and we'll open this photo. It's cute. So what I typically do is I come in and I click on draw and I select this brush over here. It's in the back. It's like the paint splatter brush, and I bring it all the way up to the top, the biggest size it can be, 100% opacity, and I'm going to go ahead and go into this pale purple color, and I basically just paint. I actually don't like that spot. Yeah, so I basically just paint on the image, and there's not really a rhyme or reason to this at all. It's just painting. And then I'll swap out the colors. I feel like I use these colors the most, like this lavender, a yellow, and then either a pink or a blue. So I'll go ahead and do that. And then I'll go into this pink, but I want it a little bit darker. So I'll go ahead and do that. Cute. So yeah, so that gives a sort of chalk effect with the paintbrush, and as you can see, it basically creates another layer for you. So I'm going to go ahead and lower the opacity on that layer and click the eraser tool, and this just makes it easier to go in and erase anywhere that you don't want that paint to be. So I basically erase it from me, like just my body, so it's not painting over myself. I'm not trying to make it like perfect right now because honestly I can take hours to edit a photo, so I'm not gonna make you sit through that because I get very perfectionist about my lines and stuff, but we're not gonna do that right now. So then I bump up the opacity, and that's how I do that. So I'll go ahead and apply that. Now I'm going to go into my brushes tool. This is different from draw because they have some preloaded brushes. I use sparkles a lot from here, but one that I use a lot is this gold tool. I'm going to go ahead and bring the size down a bit, and I'm just going to paint with the gold. Yeah, I like that. And I just think it adds a nice like accent to images to have that little bit of gold. I don't know why, I just like it. So I'll do that. I'm gonna go back into draw, and I'm going to lower this size of the brush. I'm gonna go into white, and I'm just gonna do some heart doodles because I love me some heart doodles. I think that's cute. Yeah, we'll just stick with those two. Cool, apply. And then I also like to go into stickers, and they have tons of stickers that are preloaded into here, but you can also create and upload your own. But I'm just gonna go in and find a gold star. I use this one a lot because it actually looks like a real sticker, and I think that's cool. And I'm just gonna pop a few of these on my photos. I have a tendency to overuse these stickers, so I have to make a concentrated effort to not do that. Cool, I think that's cute, so I'll go ahead and apply it. So that's what my photo is looking like right now. Another tool that I love to use in here, I love the rainbow brush. So I'll usually make that bigger and more opaque, and then you can apply that as you see fit. I don't think it really works with this photo. Sometimes I'll just plop a little rainbow splotch into random photos because I feel like it. So yeah, that's basically how I do my Pixar edit, so I'll go ahead and save that. So when it comes to filtering my photos, I use a few different applications. Lightroom, VSCO, Snow, and PinksCam are the 4 that I use the most though. So I'll just import a photo that I'm currently editing. I don't really do a lot. I'll basically just apply my preset to it, and I'll just see which one I think looks the best. So for this image, oh, I quite like the way this one looks. This one, ooh, maybe peach milk. Peach milk is actually one that I made myself. If I can figure out how to share it, I'll link it down below. But you can also use it in your Instagram stories because I made it an Instagram filter that you can use if you follow me on Instagram. But yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and use peach milk. I like the way that looks. And I will export that to my camera roll. Then I go into VSCO. Listen, I know that this is really over the top, that no one needs to use this many apps to filter their photos, but here I am. So I open it in VSCO and I use the L4 filter because I just like the way it looks. I usually decrease it a lot though. It's so not necessary, I recognize that, but honestly I just like doing a little bit of like fine tuning in VSCO. So I'll bump up the exposure a little bit. I know I could have done that in Lightroom, I know. And then I'll crop it and I'll bump up maybe the highlights a little bit and the shadows a little bit. I'll make it smidgen warmer, a little bit more purpley shaded. And the thing that I like most in VSCO is I really, really like their grain. I don't really like the grain in Lightroom, and now we'll save that out. So once I have that saved, I will go ahead and open up PinksCam, which I apply to basically every single one of my photos at the end. And the filter I use the most is B1. Looks scary at first, but I decrease it a lot. And I like that it just adds a soft pink shade to my photos. So I'll go ahead and save that out. I might actually post this. I didn't think I was gonna post this photo, but I kind of like the way it's come out. And yeah, those are basically the steps that I take every time I edit a photo. Usually it takes me a little bit longer because I'm like fine tuning things. I'm getting really in there when I'm erasing and stuff. But those are the apps that I typically gravitate towards and love and use, and the filters that I tend to use the most. Another thing that I just love doing though is I love paying attention to what the new apps are that are coming out in the App Store. I think because of that, I also get a lot of ads for new apps because I just get really excited, and I feel like it really helps me be creative just to like have new cool capabilities. So whenever a new app comes out, I'm pretty much always downloading it and testing it out and seeing if I can implement any of it into my own style, which is why honestly I was kind of hesitant to make this video in the first place, because I do feel like my style is changing constantly. Like I'm not doing the collage style as much as I was like a month ago, but in a month I'll probably be doing it a lot again. Kind of really depends on my mood, how I'm feeling, but this is basically the 101 for how I create all of my Instagram posts. I'd love to hear from you guys if there are any Instagram editing apps that you love to use, or if there are any photographers on Instagram who inspire you a lot. Let me know in the comments down below, or if this video was helpful for me, please let me know, because that just tells me that you might want more content like this, which is always helpful as a creator. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and once again, thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Again, you guys can check them out in the description box below also. And I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye!